Fellow entrepreneurs, see if you can relate to this. It's 2 a.m., you're staring at the ceiling, your mind is racing through 1,000 scenarios. None of them are good. The business isn't growing fast enough, the bills are piling up, your kids need you, but you're running on empty. Your spouse is worried, and honestly, so are you. And the worst part isn't even the problems themselves, it's the fact that you don't know what to do next. You're stuck. You're paralyzed, and every day that passes without action makes the weight heavier. If that's you right now, if you're in that place where you don't know what to do next, I need you to hear me. You are not alone. You are not broken. And this moment right now, this moment of feeling completely stuck, it's not the end of your story. It's actually the beginning of your breakthrough. My name is Haasenritter, and I help high-achieving dads scale their business without failing their families. But before any of that, I was the guy who had to sell everything and move across the country because of a family health crisis. I know what it feels like to wake up every morning with a knot in your stomach, to return phone calls between hospital visits, to try to be present for your kids while anxiety eats you alive. And here's what I learned in that valley. Nothing changes if nothing changes. I know that seems like a silly cliched phrase, but it's true. Nothing changes if nothing changes. But more importantly, I learned that being stuck isn't a permanent condition. It's a signal that you need to learn something new, try something different, or simply take one more step forward. And today I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do when you don't know what to do. We're going to talk about the real reasons that you're stuck, the mindset shifts that will set you free, and the practical steps that you can take starting today to move from overwhelm to action. Because the truth is, and this is a principle to live by, with action comes clarity. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. So take a deep breath. You're in the right place. Let's get started. Before we can get unstuck, we need to understand why we get stuck in the first place. Because the thing is, most of the time, it's not the external problems that are keeping you paralyzed. It's what's happening inside your mind and inside your body. Let me break down 6 basic core reasons that people get stuck. And there's a lot of them, but these are 6 core reasons. Reason number 1, I'm sure you can relate to this, financial stress. Financial stress isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about the stories those numbers tell about your worth and your capability, your capacity, and your future. When you're stressed out about money, your brain goes into survival mode. The prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for strategic thinking and decision-making, actually shuts down. You're literally operating from that reptilian brain, which only knows 3 things: fight, flight, or freeze. And in those states, you can't see opportunities. You can't think creatively. You're just trying to survive. We've all been there. But here's what you need to know. Financial stress is often a symptom, not the root cause. I will revisit this in a future video on the cash flow problems in your business and how to fix it by shifting the focus to 3 very specific things. The second reason people get stuck is they simply don't know what they want. They're so busy reacting to life that they've never stopped to ask, what does success actually look like for me? I see this all the time with the dads that I coach. They're grinding 60, 70 hours a week in their business, but they've never defined what winning actually means. Is it a revenue number? Is it time freedom? Is it being home for dinner 5 nights a week? Without clarity on your destination, every path looks equally valid and equally wrong, and that's paralyzing. You can't hit a target that you haven't defined. Reason number 3 is lack of knowledge. Sometimes you're stuck because you literally don't know how to do the thing that you need to do. You don't know how to hire your first employee. You don't know how to market your services. You don't know how to have that hard conversation with your spouse. And here's where pride becomes dangerous. We think, I should probably know this by now, right? I'm supposed to have it all figured out. Especially as entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers. So instead of admitting that we need help, we freeze. So listen to me, not knowing is not failing. It's just the starting point of learning. Every single person who's ever accomplished anything started from a place of not knowing. The question is, are you willing to be a learner again? Reason number 4 is lack of skill. This is different from knowledge, right? You might know what you need to do, but you haven't developed the skill to execute it. You know you need to delegate, but you haven't developed the skill of letting go and trusting your team. You know you need to sell, but you haven't developed the skill of confidently closing deals. You know you need to set boundaries, but you haven't developed the skill of saying no without guilt. Skills are built through repetition. There's no shortcutting that. They're built through failure, through doing it badly until you can do it well. And that requires patience with yourself, which is something most high achievers don't have. Reason number 5 is lack of confidence. Now, if you'll notice, all of these are symptoms of deeper issues, and that is mainly the fear of the unknown, or insecurity, or a lack of confidence, amongst other things. Think about it this way. If you had total clarity on everything we just talked about, and you knew what to do and how to do it, and you believed you could, wouldn't that bring the stress down? A lack of confidence often comes from one of two places. Either you've never done it before, so you have no evidence that you can do it, or you've tried before and failed, and now that failure is speaking louder than any potential success. Brendon Burchard, somebody that you should all follow, teaches this. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's a choice. It's the decision to act even when you're unsure. And I love this. It's the belief in your ability to figure things out rather than the belief that you already have all the answers. Confidence is built through small wins, through showing up, through proving to yourself one day at a time that you are capable of more than you think. And redefining confidence as your ability to figure things out will completely reshape your outlook on everything. I was in a conversation with other family members and friends years and years ago, and they were talking about different desserts. And one of the desserts that came up was a chocolate tiramisu. And everyone said, oh my gosh, that's so hard to make. It's going to take forever, right? And I had recently been trying to reframe my perspective in that rocket science isn't rocket science to a rocket scientist, right? They have the knowledge, they have the background and the education in rocket science. And so that's just another thing that they do. And so I was coming to it from the perspective that everything is learnable. So I went to the store and I pulled one of the cookbooks off the aisle and I looked up chocolate tiramisu and looked at all the ingredients and looked at the process and went and got the ingredients and came home and announced I was going to make chocolate tiramisu. And it was like, you don't want to do that, right? I'm not a baker. That's not my wheelhouse, right? But I thought, if everything is learnable, then why should this be any different? So I did. I made the dessert. It took me like 4 hours, which is ridiculous. And I used probably every pot and pan that we had in the house. The kitchen was a mess, but it was a delicious dessert. And I was really proving to myself that everything is learnable. And so sometimes confidence, the lack of confidence, comes from not seeing it through that lens. If you move from the perspective that confidence is your ability in figuring things out, sky's the limit, right? Reason number 6, these are blockers. I teach this in the Oola framework that I coach other entrepreneur dads through. And these are 7 blockers that Dr. Dave and Dr. Troy identified as underlying causes, root causes of just problems in our life. And these are really invisible forces that will keep you stuck. Blocker number 1 is fear. It's fear of failure, sometimes fear of success, fear of judgment, of what other people will think if you do have that success. Number 2 is guilt, and that could be guilt from past mistakes or even current choices. Number 3 is anger, and that's just unresolved resentment that eats at your energy every second of the day. Number 4 is self-sabotage. That's a big one for me. I've had to work through the years, and that's the voice that says you don't deserve it. Number 5 is laziness, and that's, not showing up when it matters. Number 6 is envy, and that's comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Envy is a little bit different from jealousy. Sometimes people get those two confused. Jealousy is when you want something that someone else has. The nice car, the nice house, maybe the nice career path. Envy is when you want something that someone else has and you don't want them to have it. And that's a totally different place to be, totally different place to operate your life from. And number 7 is a focus, or in the case of most entrepreneurs, a lack of focus. And sometimes that means trying to do everything and really accomplishing nothing. Most of us are being blocked by at least 2 or 3 of these at any given time. The key is learning to name them, because you can't fight an enemy that you can't see. But knowing why doesn't automatically get you unstuck, does it? So what we need now is a fundamental shift in how you think about being stuck. Because here's the truth. Being stuck is not a problem to be solved. It's a signal to be interpreted. When you're stuck, every fiber of your being, your emotions, your spirituality, your physicality, your mental state is trying to tell you something. Maybe you're on the wrong path. Maybe you're moving too fast. It's a capacity issue. Maybe you're carrying too much. Maybe you need to learn something new. But the moment you stop seeing stuck as a failure and start seeing it as feedback, everything changes. So the first mindset shift is this. You're not stuck. You're just in transition. Every great story has what's called the valley. We've all been there. It's the place between the old normal and the new breakthrough where the hero feels lost. Think about it. The valley isn't a sign you're off track. The valley is the track. It's where transformation actually takes place. It's that pedal block you see that a sprinter plants his foot on just before the race begins. A question I constantly ask my coaching clients is, what time are your thoughts? Not how much time do you think, but what time are your thoughts? Are you living in the past, stuck on what went wrong? Or are you living in the future, paralyzed by what might happen next? Or are you in the present and taking the next right step? Learn from the past, embrace the growth that the future has, but keep your feet planted firmly in today. When you shift your mindset from I'm broken to I'm between chapters, you give yourself permission to not have it all figured out yet. You're allowed to be in process. That is okay. So the mindset shift is going from I need the whole plan to I just need the next step. As entrepreneurs, many times we think that we need to see the entire staircase before we take the first step. But that's not how breakthroughs work. That's not how faith works. And honestly, that's not how life works. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best, faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. So remember this shift. With action comes clarity. This is the principle that will change your life if you let it sink in. You don't get clarity by thinking harder in the same place. You get clarity by moving forward, even if it's just one small step, even if you're not sure it's the right step. Because what happens is when you take action, any action, you gather data. You learn what works and what doesn't. You build momentum, and momentum is the enemy of being stuck. Shift number 3 is going from I can't afford to fail to I can't afford not to try. One of the concepts that freed me was understanding the difference between one-way doors and two-way doors. I talked about that in a previous video. A one-way door is a decision you can't easily reverse. Getting married or having kids, selling your business, these require careful thought and taking the time to do that. But a two-way door is a decision that you can walk back from even if it doesn't work. Trying a new marketing strategy, testing a new product, having a hard conversation. Most of the decisions that have you paralyzed right now are two-way door decisions, but you're treating them like they're life or death when really they're just experiments. And experiments are meant to teach you, not to define you. So the question isn't, what if I fail? The question is, what will I learn? Mindset shift number 4 is going from I have to do this alone to I need support. An unfortunate truth to realize is that many people suffer in comfort by doing things or buying things to make themselves feel better about their suffering instead of actually addressing the suffering. We numb and we distract and we isolate. We tell ourselves, I should be able to handle this on my own. But that's not strength. That's pride masquerading as independence. Every person who's accomplished something significant had mentors and coaches and accountability partners and a community. No one builds anything meaningful alone or in a silo. So if you're stuck, one of the fastest ways to get unstuck is to simply raise your hand and say, I need help. That takes more courage than pretending you're fine. So ask the question, who needs me to show up today? And equally important, who do I need to reach out to today? So we've talked about why you're stuck and the mindset shifts that you need to break through that. But the thing is, you can know all of this intellectually and still feel paralyzed. The reason is because your body is holding on to the stress. Your nervous system is still in that fight or flight mode, and you're carrying the weight, not just mentally, but physically in your body. So before we can move forward to anything, we need to release that tension. We need to create physical and mental and emotional space. A powerful technique that Brendon Burchard uses, he calls it the release meditation technique. And you can do this right now. Just stop what you're doing for a moment. If you're driving, maybe press pause and come back to it. If you're at your desk, then just sit up straight with your feet flat on the floor, hands resting comfortably. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. Now take a deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. Pause. You're going to hold it for 4 counts. And then you're going to release through your mouth for a count of 4. You can do that 2 or 3 times in a row. But here's where the power comes. I want you to bring to mind the thing that's causing you the most stress right now, the thing that's keeping you stuck. Don't push it away. Just acknowledge it and see it clearly. Maybe it's a financial pressure. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a decision that you've been avoiding. And here's what I want you to do. Mentally say to that stress, I release the need to control this outcome. I release the need to know exactly how this will resolve. I release the fear, I release the guilt, and I release the burden of carrying this alone. And as you say those words, go through the breathing exercises. As you say those words, physically exhale as if you're breathing out the weight. There's a lot of science behind changing your breath and your physiology, and tying that to the emotion of a mental state can completely shift things. This type of release technique is not about denying that the problems exist. It's about releasing your death grip on it so you can actually think clearly about the next steps. Do this a few times if you have to, and I bet you'll find that you feel lighter and more grounded than before. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Joel, that was nice, but I have real problems, and a breathing exercise isn't going to pay my bills. You're right. It won't. But here's what it will do. It will get your prefrontal cortex back online so you can think about how to pay your bills. It will calm your nervous system so you can have that hard conversation. It will create space for clarity. Stress management isn't a luxury. It's a prerequisite for effective action. Here's a few more tools to put in your toolbox that you can use every single day. I did a video on this before as well. It's called the CEO to Dad Transition Firewall. And it's a buffer between the two roles that you have as an entrepreneur dad, between the hard-charging CEO and the loving, patient father that you want to be at home. So before you walk through the door of your home, just sit in the car for 5 minutes. Do 3 rounds of this box breathing where you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. And this simple practice shifts you from work mode to present mode. Number 2 is something we call morning pages. Spend the first 10 minutes of your day just doing a brain dump. Just write whatever comes to mind. No editing, no judgment. This type of practice helps to clear the mental clutter and often reveals the one thing that you actually need to focus on today. And then you can do the same in the evening and just do an evening review. Before bed, write down 3 wins from the day, even small ones, and 1 lesson that you learned. This trains your brain to look for progress, not just problems. Because remember, progress beats perfection every single time. Another powerful practice you can do is to change your environment. Many times we tend to go to the same places physically when we feel at our worst. The couch, binge watching Netflix, for example. But you can give your brain a new stimulus just by changing your environment. Go outside, be in nature. Enjoy the beauty of a sunrise or a sunset, of the creation that we have all around us. Another tool for your toolbox is to change your physiology. We talked about that just a little bit. When we are at our darkest, when we're at our worst part of the day, our breathing shallows, our posture dips, our shoulders tend to droop. But you can completely shift your emotions and your mentality in the moment by changing your current physical state. Go do a series of like 50 jumping jacks. Go on a walk, hit the courts and shoot some hoops. Try a new exercise routine. You'll find that by channeling the stress that's harbored in your body into something physical, that your brain has to reevaluate everything in the moment. No, it doesn't make your problems magically disappear, but it does change everything about how you feel. And pro tip, if you combine a change in your environment with a change in your physiology, you exponentially shift the stimulus that your brain is working through and the things that you're focusing on. Your emotional state, your mental state, your physical state all shift at the same time. So we've released some stress. You've shifted your mindset. Now it's time for the practical part. What do you actually do when you're stuck? And I want to give you a few practical action steps that you can do. You don't have to do all of them. Just pick one that resonates the most and start there. Because remember, action creates clarity. Number 1 is to name your current reality. And this can be really hard sometimes, but you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So the first step is just brutal honesty about where you're actually at right now. In the Oola framework I talked about before, we use something called the Oola wheel to assess 7 key areas of life. That's fitness, which is your mental and physical health; finance, your money situation; family, your closest relationships; field, which is your career or your business; faith, your spiritual groundedness; friends, your social connections; and fun, a word that we as entrepreneurs have a hard time visiting consistently, and that's just your ability to enjoy life. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself honestly in each area? Where are you thriving? Where are you barely surviving? This isn't about judgment, it's just about awareness, because once you see the imbalance clearly, the path forward becomes more obvious. Step number 2 is to identify one thing. What most people get wrong is they try to fix everything at once. They want to lose 30 pounds, double their revenue, repair their marriage, and start a podcast all by next Monday. And that's not a plan. That is a recipe for burnout. So instead, ask yourself this: if I could only focus on one area for the next 90 days, which one would create the biggest ripple effect in the others? That's the one you focus on. That's your leverage point. When I was in a rut of my own several years back, I chose to see things through the lens of gratitude for the entire year. Not because I was superficially grateful, but because I chose to see the good in all things, the highs and the lows. I needed to believe that things could get better, and I needed that hope. And when I focused on rebuilding that foundation, the foundation of being grateful for what I have versus focusing on what I don't, everything started to shift. So what's one area that you can focus on? Not 10, not 20, just one. You could look at how you scored yourself in those 7 F's of Oola and ask yourself which one area would impact you the most if you focused on that one thing. And then step number 3, make one bold move today. Once you know the area that you want to focus on, don't wait. Don't plan. Don't map it out. Don't overthink it. Just make one bold move today. If your focus is fitness, schedule the appointment with the trainer. Take out the gym membership today. If it's finance, open the spreadsheet and look at the numbers. If it's family, text your spouse right now and just say, I want to connect tonight, just about us. Can we have a few minutes with just us? Do one move today, because momentum begins the moment you stop waiting for the perfect plan and start taking imperfect action. Step number 4 is to use something that we call the 7 Oola accelerators. Just like there are 7 blockers that keep you stuck, there are 7 accelerators that will propel you forward. And these accelerators, these 7 lenses, will completely change how you view life and all of the stress that it brings. Accelerator number 1 is gratitude. We talked about that a minute ago. Shift your focus from lack to abundance. A really good book on this is a book called The Gap and the Gain. And it's a really good perspective shift on how to see the things that are working for you as opposed to the things that you lack. Accelerator number 2 is love. Lead with connection, not control. That will shift everything. Accelerator number 3 is discipline. Do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Yes, I know it's hard, but do it anyway. Accelerator number 4 is integrity. Align your actions with your values. And if you've been in a season of your actions being outside of your values, then course correct. Number 5 is passion. Remember why you started in the first place. It could be with your business, remembering why you started that business in the first place. It could be with your spouse, remembering why you got married in the first place. Accelerator number 6 is humility. Be willing to learn and admit when you're wrong. That is not weakness. That is a strength. That is a place where you can actually learn how to do the things you don't know to do so you can take the next step. And number 7 is wisdom. Seek counsel from those who have walked the path before you. You can learn so much by having a coach or a mentor that has done the thing you're trying to do and just learning from their experience. So pick one of the accelerators to focus on this week, just one, and let it become your filter for your decisions. In the big picture, another tool is to fight procrastination with the 2-minute rule. Many times, procrastination isn't really laziness. It's actually fear disguised as delay. The antidote to that is to make the first step so small, it's almost impossible not to do it. This is called the 2-minute rule, and it's part of the atomic habits system. When whatever you're avoiding, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. If you don't want to work out, put on your gym shoes and walk to the mailbox and back for 2 minutes. The antidote to this is to make the first step so small, it's almost impossible not to do. James Clear talks about this in the Atomic Habits book that he wrote, and I did a whole video on this as well. Whatever you're avoiding, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. You don't want to work out, I get it. Put on your gym shoes and walk to the mailbox and back for just 2 minutes. Don't want to write that email, I get it. Open your laptop and type the subject line. Don't want to have that hard conversation? Text the person and say, can we talk for a few minutes? 90% of the time, starting is the hardest part. And once you're in motion, you'll keep going, but you do have to start. And 2 minutes is all you need to start. The next tool is to decide, are you going to pivot or are you going to push? Sometimes being stuck means you need to change direction. It's that learning part of doing and observing. And sometimes you need to change what you're doing or how you're doing it. Sometimes it means you need to pivot. And sometimes it means you need to keep going. So the question is, how do you know which one to do? A basic framework for when to pivot is you've given it an honest effort for at least 90 days, or you're getting consistent feedback that it's not working. Maybe it's violating your core values or draining your inner emotions. Maybe it's that you've lost the why behind what you're doing. But here's to know when to push. It's when you're in the valley of disappointment right before the breakthrough. Maybe you're scared, but not in danger. That's a time to push. Maybe the vision is still clear, it's just hard. That's a time to push. Maybe it's when quitting would mean giving up on your future self. That's a time to push. Most people quit right before the breakthrough, but some people stay too long in the wrong place just out of stubbornness or fear of admitting that they were wrong. You have to be honest. Is this a season to pivot, or is it a season to push through? Now, I want to pivot a bit and shift gears here and talk about one of the most powerful concepts that I learned from Ed Milet. He wrote a book called The Power of One More, and it's a book you should absolutely read. Ed says this: you are always one decision, one action, one conversation, one day away from changing your entire life. Think about that. Just one more. One more sales call could land the client that changes everything. One more rep at the gym could be the one that builds the habit. One more difficult conversation could be the one that saves your marriage. One more day of showing up could be the day before everything clicks. And of course, the catch is you'll never know which one more it is, right? So you have to treat every single one like it's the breakthrough moment. This is a concept I put into practice for my own life when I was going through a dark season. Our family was in transition when we were in that crisis, and the bills kept piling up, and I didn't know if I could keep going. That was the deal I made with myself. I can push through one more day, not a month, not a year, just today. And I would wake up and just say, I can do one more day. And then I did it again the next day and the next. And what happened is that one day I looked back and I realized I had made it through that season, that valley for that moment. Not because I was strong enough to carry the whole mountain, but because I was willing to take one more step. And if you're in that place right now, I need you to hear this. You can make it through one more day. You can take one more step. You can make one more call. You can have one more conversation. You can wake up one more time and choose hope. Just one more. And then tomorrow, do it again one more time. Big transformations don't come from giant leaps. They actually come from tiny, consistent steps in the right direction. James Clear talks about this in the book Atomic Habits, and again, I did a video on that before. It's the 1% improvement philosophy. If you get just 1% better every day for a year, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. But most of us are so focused on the gap between where we are and where we want to be that we miss the gains we're actually making. So the challenge I have to you is to master the art of the baby steps. Don't commit to working out 5 days a week. Commit to putting on your workout clothes. Don't commit to writing a whole book. Commit to writing one sentence. Don't commit to fixing your marriage overnight. Commit to one intentional conversation this week. Baby steps compound. And one day, not long from now, by taking those baby steps, you're going to look back at the mountain you're climbing and you'll be stunned by how far you've come. Now, the flip side of that, just being real for a moment, is that as you start taking those steps, the voices will come. The things that ask you, who do you think you are? This won't work. You've failed before. It's too late. Those voices aren't the truth. They're just echoes. They're echoes of past failures, past judgments, and past fears. Here's what you need to ask yourself. Whose voice am I hearing? Is it your own authentic voice, or is it someone else's expectation that you've internalized? One of the most powerful things you can do when you're stuck is to write down the lies that you've been believing, actually write them out on a piece of paper, and then next to each lie, write the truth. The lie says, I'm too old to start over. The truth says, people twice my age or my same age are doing things I haven't even attempted yet. The lie says, I've failed too many times. The truth says, every failure has taught me something I needed to know for the next attempt. You have to actively combat the voices with truth, because left unchecked, they will keep you paralyzed. When my wife and I sold our house and my business and we moved across the country, I had no guarantees. I actually had a job that I thought was a slam dunk. I thought it was a done deal, only to get the pink slip before I even started, before we even moved out here. All I had was faith that if we took the leap, that somehow we'd figure it out. And we did. We took that leap of faith. We were blessed beyond measure along the way, and her health improved. I found consistent work, and we began to rebuild. Not overnight, not because it was easy, but step by step and day by day, we moved out of the mode of survival. And here, almost 8 years later, we're still figuring it out, day by day and step by step. But now I get to help other dads who are in that same valley. I get to be the voice that says, you're not alone, you're not broken, and this is not the end. That's the power of pushing through. That's the power of choosing one more. Your breakthrough isn't just for you. It's for everyone who's watching, your kids and your spouse and your team, the stranger you meet at a coffee shop who listens to your story and thinks, if they can do it, maybe I can too. So don't quit, not today. Take one more step. Do it for them, do it for you, do it for the person that you're becoming. Now, there's one more aspect that I want to mention here, and it's a very important one. Most of what we've talked about is inward facing. It's strategies to help push you through the hardest days. But if you want a cheat code, if you want to leap past all of that, shift your focus from being on your problems to how you can show up for someone else, how you can make someone else's day just a little bit brighter, how you can be that smile that someone else needs in their moment of struggle. If you shift your focus to that, if you can choose to be the glimmer of hope for someone else, not because you have all the answers or have it all figured out, but because you have the power to bring light and life into this world. I know that's not easy when you feel like you're drowning. I've been there. I get that. But if you can, you might just find that not only do you feel less burdened by all the things currently weighing you down, but you'll have lifted some of the weight off of someone else's shoulders too. And if that's not a reason why we exist in the first place, I'm not sure what is. Now, if you've made it this far, first of all, thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Thank you for being willing to believe that maybe, just maybe, things can get better, because they can. Here's what I need you to understand, though. Hope is not a wishful thought. Hope is a daily choice. It's the choice to get up one more time. It's the choice to believe that your story isn't over. It hasn't been written yet. It's the choice to take action even when you can't see the outcome. And here's the one principle I need you to never forget. With action comes clarity. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step. And then the next one. And the next. And then observe. Pivot if necessary. Push through if not, and take another step. Because movement creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence creates breakthroughs. And if today wasn't your day, make tomorrow the day you do one more. Just one. Master the art of the baby steps. And one day, not long from now, you will look back and you will be amazed at the progress you've made. So here's what to do next. Go grab a piece of paper and a pen. Write down your one thing that you need to focus on. What's the one area of your life that if you focused on it for the next 90 days would transform everything? Write down one bold move you're going to make in the next 24 hours, not a plan to make a plan, an actual move. And write down the lie that you've been believing and the truth that's going to replace it. That's it. You can do this in 5 minutes. And then you take action, because you now know that clarity doesn't come by staying still. Clarity comes by taking action. If you want more support, if you want to dive deeper, I invite you to join me in the 5-day B.O.S.S Dad Challenge. Over 5 days, we're going to build your framework for winning at business and winning at life. B.O.S.S is an acronym for Balanced Owner Strategic Shepherd. We walk through all of those pillars in 5 days and identify the one thing that would keep you from making that momentum and that shift, and the thing that will move you through that. The link is in the description, and I would love to see you there. And if this video helped you, share it with one person who needs to hear it. Your breakthrough could be the beginning of theirs. I know it's hard right now. I know the weight is heavy. I know you're tired, but I also know this. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you believe, and you are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The world needs you to push through. Your family needs you to show up. Your future self is counting on you to take one more step. And remember, taking time to block out the voices and reground yourself, that is absolutely a step that you can take if that's the season that you're in. And then move forward. Observe, pivot, or push. Take the step, release the fear, and choose hope. And remember, you're not truly stuck. You're just in the valley before the breakthrough. So go take that step. I'm Joel Haasenritter. Win at business, win at life, be a B.O.S.S Dad.